Ah! It's Halloween, which means it's time to talk about horror Nintendo Switch games. Alright, I'm done with that. That's enough of that. Today we are doing a sequel to our horror top 10 Nintendo Switch games you should be buying. Everyone's been asking for a sequel, and I think I made a pretty good list, so it's cool to go back to that video and make a sequel, because didn't really think people would care to hear my intake on all the horror Nintendo Switch games. Horror is a big thing that I love when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, and the Nintendo Switch has plenty of horror games. Just in general, I love horror games, so the fact that I get to do another video like this is super exciting. Before we get started with our top 10 list, I want to quickly announce that I will be at the RetroFest Arkansas next week. By the time this video comes out, it will be happening in 8 days' time from now. So if you guys are in the Arkansas area or close by, I will be there. A lot of people will be there. Phoenix Resale, Retro Rick, I mean, it's his event, so obviously he'll be there. A lot of people are gonna be there. Retro Wolf, there are so many people there. It's gonna be great if you guys are coming, but nice to see you. Come say hi if you see me. And yeah, let's get into this top 10 video. Coming in, number 10 is going to be one that I'm not sure many of y'all will like, but these are the type of games that I really like, and this game really plays with you in terms of the psychological side of it. And I love that. That game being The Call of Cthulhu. I have been streaming all horror games all month long in September and on October, and a lot of the stream crowd did not like this game, just to be completely honest with you. For me, I enjoyed it. It has some issues, like if you go through the game, you're gonna notice that there is the exact same character models throughout the whole game. It's pretty funny. But this game really plays with your mind, and you're investigating an upcoming case, and I think storyline-wise, it's interesting. I like the psychological side of it because there's not many of those type of games on the Switch that messes with your brain, and this is one that really messes with you, and overall, a pretty fun game. Runs good on the Switch, looks good on the Switch. It's kind of hard to find games that look and run good on Switch nowadays, and this is one that I think many of you will enjoy if you like psychological things. I put this at the bottom of this list just because I think out of everything I'm going to show y'all today, this might be one of the most least interesting ones for you guys to play if you're just wanting to go right all in into horror, because this has horror, it has psychological, that's what I would really more say. It's more of a psychological horror game. It's still a really good game, I feel. And I think it's like a cheap game too. So either way, this is one to be on the lookout for, depending the type of horror games fan you are. Coming in, number 9 has to be one of the best horror games if you played it back in the arcade. And it's just overall a good shooting arcade game, let alone the horror side of it. It's just a bonus that it's a horror game at the same time. And luckily this game got remade for the Nintendo Switch. That game being The House of the Dead. Man, I loved playing The House of the Dead on the arcades back in the day with my friend Nathan. We were in a bowling alley team, and every time we were done bowling, we would go beat House of the Dead. It would take us months to actually beat it, but at the end of the day, at one point, we decided to throw all our quarters into the game, and boom, we beat the House of the Dead. And so when the remake got announced for consoles, I was completely surprised, as that was something I was not expecting at all. And it's the first one, the one that me and my friend Nathan played. So it's really cool to go back into this game and see what it's doing. And the fact that you can use the Joy-Cons as a controller, it just feels very special to be able to have this on the Switch. I know some of the hardcore fans of the series wasn't exactly too happy with this, but for me, as someone that loved the arcade, the first one, and it being a remake of the first, I had the same enjoyment with my friend Nathan. And I think for you guys, you will have the same enjoyment, especially if you're looking for that arcade type style game to have in your collection. There is arcade style games out there, but this one, you can really see the arcade style elements into this, and it is just perfect to have, a perfect game to play during this horror season, the spooky season, whatever you want to call it, the Halloween season. I love this game so much, and again, this is another game that I think is pretty cheap. Not to mention, there's rumors going around that they're going to be doing more House of the Dead games on consoles, remaking the other games. So, might be cool to have this in your collection to prepare yourself for other games. This is a really good game. Coming in number 8 is a game that I really wasn't expecting to come to the Nintendo Switch, but it makes sense that it's on the Switch, all things considering. Coming in number 8 has to be Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water. This game gets very spooky at the beginning stages of this, which I have found in some horror games, you kind of have to build up to the horror before you're like, oh, now it's getting spooky. This, immediately you're going to be jumped into this. And I think it's really cool that this game came to Switch, because a lot of people don't realize this. This was actually a Wii U exclusive. Nintendo paid for a brand new Fatal Frame to come to the Wii U, and they kind of screwed that game into being a successful game with how they did it. If I recall correctly, when it dropped on the Wii U, they had it in terms of like episodes. They kind of like a Telltale Games episode where you buy the episode and then, or the season pass or whatever, and then you'll get the episodes monthly or whenever, however long it took to develop the game. And because of that, the game wasn't very successful, because one of the reasons is obviously it was on the Wii U. The Wii U was a struggling system, and the fact on top of it had all of this made it not a successful game. But people always talked about how great Fatal Frame was on the Wii U, and I think that community was able to bring out this for the Switch, because now not only did this come out for the Switch, it sold well enough that they put out another Fatal Frame game on the Switch. I'm thinking this is a series that will be brought to life into other Nintendo consoles and other consoles just in general, thanks to the support that this game had, even when it didn't sell well on the Wii U. This is truly a spooky game, and the elements that it has in it, in the gameplay mechanics, is truly unique. It was very fun to play this, and I'm looking forward to streaming this, because this is one of the ones that I have on my stream list that I need to stream. This is a great game, and one you should definitely have if you are a big fan of horror games. Coming in number 7 is one that I am super surprised is on the Nintendo Switch also. That game being the Blair Witch. I am pretty sure that the Blair Witch was a Xbox exclusive at one point. I don't know how they broke out of it, because now it's on the Switch. I mean, Microsoft does like putting stuff on other consoles, but I'm pretty sure Microsoft paid and funded this game. Somehow it ended up on the Switch. Let alone, I was surprised that it came to the Switch in general, because this is kind of like a powerhouse game right here. I wasn't really expecting them to be like, oh, we're gonna make a Switch version. And I also think it's weird that it got a physical in Japan, but not America. I thought Blair Witch was more popular here in America because of the story behind it. But hey, I don't know. I don't make these decisions. I was just surprised to see that also. Either way, I was surprised to see that this game looks and runs well on the Switch. Visually, it does take a hit, but it never had frame rate drops. And if it did have a frame rate drop, it was never noticeable. And I was quite surprised by that. You could see that this game sacrificed how it looked to have that locked frame rate. And the storyline behind this game has been very interesting to play through. I'm also very interested in its gameplay mechanics. Now, what I'm about to say, I've never seen the Blair Witch, so if this is something that happens in the Blair Witch, I guess I'm gonna look like an idiot. Either way, I think this is a cool gameplay mechanic. You are playing through tapes of someone, I'm not going to spoil the story, but you're playing through tapes, and you have to pause and play through these tapes, and when you go to these areas that the tapes are showing, it like plays with time basically. So like if, let's say I'm holding a tape, I'm filming me holding, well I guess technically I am filming myself holding this game, and I drop the game on the ground basically. I would have to pause the tape to pick up what was on the ground in the actual area. I thought that was cool and opened the door to a lot of different gameplay mechanics in this game, and I thought just really opened the door of what this game could be. I don't know if this game was successful enough to have a sequel or not, but I think that this is a really cool gameplay mechanic that I would love to see other horror games do, and using a tape recorder like that, I just thought that was so cool. It was like playing with two screens into one, like, I don't know, that was so cool to me. Not to mention, the story gets pretty dark here. I wasn't expecting some of the elements that it had in it, which for a horror game, for me to be surprised for something, says a lot. This is one I definitely think y'all should be on the lookout for. Coming in number 6 is Oxide Room 104. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I had never heard of this game before until I bought it at my local game store just because I was trying to buy Switch games. I was filming a Switch video. I love horror. He got this in. He was like, Max, I know you love horror. And I looked at it. I was like, I've never heard of this game. I'm going to pick this up. And when I streamed it, I'm going to be completely honest, it looked like it was going to be a horrible game. I don't know what they did wrong, but the first 5 minutes of this game looks absolutely horrible on Nintendo Switch. And then after that cutscene that you get through, the actual gameplay looks good. The whole game itself looks good after that. When you get to that cutscene, you feel like you're about to play a very horrible game. I don't know what went wrong there, why it looked that way, but I remember my whole streaming audience thought that we were going to be skipping this game quick because of what it was turning out to be. And it sucks because I feel like some people might have actually stopped playing the game because of how bad that cutscene looked. And then you play the actual game, like the actual gameplay looked better than the cutscenes, which is kind of weird to say. Either way, this game is really freaky. You could tell whoever created the story of this must have been on something when he was creating the storyline, because he has creations in here that you're like, what in the world? What is that? That is creepy. This is a game that genuinely was freaking me out. Not to mention, I don't know how much I can say this without spoiling, so I'm not gonna say too much, but there's something in here with a certain gameplay mechanic that really stresses you out if you mess up in this game. That's all I'm going to leave it at that because I don't want to spoil anything else other than that. And also, I will say the voice acting in this game was absolutely garbage. I don't know what was going on, but the guy would be like running for his life, basically. Like he's about to die, and he's like all joyful, like, oh, I'm about to die. Like it was very weird, the voice acting of this. That would probably be my only issue, the voice acting and that opening cutscene of Oxide Room 104. And listen, the game must be so good because it's getting a sequel, so that's pretty cool. And by the way, with me buying this game, I planted one tree out there. So you know what? I did something right. You know, who knew that a horror game could save lives? Coming in number 5 is an anime game. That game being Doki Doki Literature Club. Now, this game isn't really scary. It just takes place during Halloween. It's just one of those anime dating simulator games. Nothing really creepy goes on in this game. It's just one of those things that you can see what happens in like an anime scene when it's set during Halloween. So you can see what the world of the animes is like in Halloween, basically. I know that it's kind of a different game to have on this list, especially since we're going full on horror, but I'm sure if you're a big fan of Halloween stuff, I'm sure this is going to be something you want to pick up, especially considering anime. I know a lot of you guys love that in the comments down below, so if you're an anime fan, this is probably going to be something you really like. And like I said, it's just one of those things that's set during Halloween, so I guess have some extremely low expectations when it comes to the horror side of things.
Thank you guys for hitting that unsubscribe button. I've been telling you guys for a few videos now, quite a few, to hit that unsubscribe button instead of, and if you're not already subscribed, just keep it that way. You can go to that little cog icon, leave the MONADO Marines. I've been looking at the live MONADO Max subscriber count the last few days, and I've just been waiting for it to change, and yo, let's go, you guys. Listen, let's go to the earnings page for MONADO Max, and let's see how much money he's been making ever since everyone unsubscribed.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel, join the MONADO Marines, hit that notification bell, and stay tuned for more MONADO Max uploads.
Coming in number 4 is a release that just recently came out for the Nintendo Switch, that game being Luigis Mansion 2 HD. Now, I have been very critical about this game for one reason, and that was its price tag. I still stand by the fact that $60 is way too much for this game. However, Luigis Mansion 2 is a great game. It's a perfect game to have if you don't want to go all in the guts and whatever a horror game is going to have, because you're not going to see that, but you're still going to play a spooky Nintendo game, at least somewhat spooky. I mean, you're probably not going to have any jump scares, but you can see Luigi get jump scared all the time, and that's pretty funny to see. Luigi's Mansion 2 is a great game. and I hope at some point that this game drops in price. Either way, it visually looks good. I mean, it looks like they just made a 3DS game in HD. I mean, that's what the title is. That's why I'm like, this should have not been $60, but this is not me ranting. This is me recommending. And I still do recommend this game, especially if you're a die-hard Luigi's Mansion fan and somehow have not played this. This is going to be something you want to play, and it's just good to have a Nintendo Halloween experience. Coming in number 3 was something I did not expect to be this good, to be completely honest with you. I wasn't really sure when I bought this. Everyone talked about how great this game was, but I just wasn't interested in playing it for some reason. But coming in number 3 is Little Nightmares. First off, I did not expect this game to get as dark as it got. This game has some very dark elements, and you can see some of those dark elements, especially referenced and just seen in the background. I was surprised that this game had gotten away with a lot of the things that it has for the rating that it has, because it's not even an M-rated game. Either way, this game was great. You got some platforming, you got some puzzles to solve, and you're left asking yourself, like, whoa, did that just happen? Did that really just happen? This game visually looks great on the Switch, runs great for the Switch. The one issue that I will tell you up front is if you die in this game, you're gonna wish you didn't die, because you're gonna be sitting at that loading screen for a good 2 to 3 minutes. I am not exaggerating that. I would accidentally die in this game and I'll be like, bro, why did I do that? Now I have to wait forever. This is an experience that you will be waiting for a long time, but it's a well worth it experience because the Switch version really has no problems other than that. This is a great game, a great horror game. Don't get thrown off by its gameplay. It truly is something dark, very dark. I mean, I don't know how they got away with the teen rating. I feel like with what was shown at certain elements, I feel like this was an M-rated game, to be honest. And maybe they got away with it because, I don't know. Either way, you will be very surprised by this game. Coming in number 2 has to be Alien Isolation. Wow, I'm gonna be honest, it was a slow start. My whole streaming chat was just like, Max, please go to the next game. And after we got through that first hour, all of us were just like, throughout the whole game. And we're still playing through this game. But let me tell you something, this game is very difficult. This game can get very scary. This game can also get very interesting from a story perspective. I don't know much about the Alien world. To be honest, I've never seen a movie of Alien. This is my first time doing anything with Alien. After playing this game, I definitely want to watch at least the first 2 movies, if not all of them. This game has so many things that I want to say when it comes to today's gaming that this game does better than today's gaming. Like, it has one of the most advanced ways of the way that enemies can find you and kill you. That's all I'm gonna leave it at that, because once again, I think if I go further, it could get really spoiler territory, and I probably should just shut up. We're just gonna leave it at that. This thing has things that games have not done before, and if it has elements like it, the mechanics are nowhere near as good as what this did right here. This is truly a one-of-a-kind game that I don't think we're ever going to see something like this ever again, to be completely honest. And I guess that's kind of cool that you're having a one-of-a-kind horror game experience here. And I know some people might be asking, does it look good on the Switch? Does it run good? It looks good on the Switch and runs good on the Switch. I think there was some people in my comments complaining about it, but I mean, me visually, it looked just on par with all the other versions out there. Very good game. Be on the lookout for this, and I can't wait to continue streaming this even more. So number 1, this one was tricky because there's so many games I could put it here. There's so many games that I actually get to put on this list, but I'm not making a part 3 because it just doesn't make sense. But this next game was hard to decide where I wanted it on the list because we're talking about spooky and horror and all that. I don't know if this game was creepy to play, but at one point something happens in this game that you truly are like, oh my God. That might be the most spooky, most horrifying thing that I have ever witnessed in a video game. And I think Nintendo has surprisingly done that. Yes, Nintendo themselves. Coming in number 1 has to be Emo and the Smiling Man. This was a game that came out of nowhere. Nintendo has been hyping up the Famicom Detective Club series. It got brought back out of nowhere. I think it was like 2021 when this happened. We saw them remake the first 2 games, and then nothing ever happened after that. And then 2024 came, and they were like, guess what? In 1 month, you'll be able to play a brand new game in the series. And then they made it all kind of horror themed. And this is truly, I feel like, one of the scariest things I've seen with how dark this game gets, what happens in the game. Oh my goodness. I was very surprised that I actually finished a game like this, because I do have some gameplay issues with this. It has so much gameplay potential that they utilize, but they don't utilize till like when you're almost done with the game. Like, this game could have been really, really good. It's still a really good game, but it could have been way better from a gameplay perspective, because it has it right there. It's just not utilized. Either way, I have to put this at #1 on this list with what happened in that game. If you're a fan of horror, you will love this, but if you're not a fan of visual novels, you might want to stay away from this. Although, if you can bite the dust and play through a visual novel, you will not regret it, because what happens here, oh my goodness gracious. I'm really speaking from a horror fan perspective. If I couldn't really recommend this game to anybody else. I recommend this to the right people, basically. And I do recommend it to horror game fans if they can get through a visual novel. Definitely look into getting this game. Guys, that has been 10 more horror games you should buy for the Nintendo Switch. Now, I want to know what you guys are thinking. Is there anything that I'm missing? Is there anything you would have been like, oh, this makes sense to have, Max, but why didn't you put this? Or, Max, why did you put this game at all in the list? I heavily disagree with this. Let me know. I love reading these comments on the top 10 videos. I think it's very interesting. And I would like to know your guys' favorite horror Nintendo Switch games out there. I'm talking Switch games. I don't want somebody to be like, oh, I really love the brand new Silent Hill 2, Max. Where's that on the list? Well, it didn't come onto Nintendo Switch. Make sure to backslash that subscribe button. Like the video. Become a MONADO Marine for $5 a month. I have been talking for way too much.